someone who has been there on the ground in Afghanistan. Brian Mast is a Republican congressman from Florida, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and Army veteran. Congressman Mast, where to begin? There's so much to get our arms around here. I want to start here. Lucas Tomlinson reporting from the Pentagon that our men and women in uniform are not allowed to go outside or even try to get outside that Taliban perimeter to go get Americans. Yet I'm reading reports about French troops who are doing just that. What do you make of that? What's your reaction to that?
It's so dangerous in this respect. It's very clear the Biden administration's objective is always optics. They were probably trying to do this because they wanted the optics of being out before 9/11. Now they're trying to keep those optics of this is, quote, not a combat mission. And it's the optics that are going to put people in even further danger. Instead of going out there and making the Taliban our hostages, right now, America is on what, about day 7, day 8 of the Afghanistan hostage crisis for us. And until we flip that scenario back to where it was prior to this, we can't safely get our people out. And let me expand on this just a little bit more. We gave up the most secure airbase, Bagram, probably in the world, for a totally non-secure airbase. We heard President Biden say we gave them the most advanced weaponry. So every minute that goes by, they're understanding their capabilities further and further. What do they have to shoot down an aircraft from surface to air? What drone capabilities did they pick up by taking over that U.S. military equipment that they can fly into an aircraft, given that they're going to be flying thousands of Americans and others out of this situation? It can rapidly deteriorate if we don't make them our hostages.
So I want to unpack that a little bit because some of it is really jarring. You call this the Afghanistan hostage crisis. I'm starting to hear that in different ways. Here's Senator Tom Cotton from yesterday on The Focus in Arkansas. And you guys are tying together something. Let's watch.
A lot of people have been speaking this week about comparisons to Saigon in 1975. What increasingly worries me is the scenario of Tehran in 1979, when 52 hostages held by the Ayatollah paralyzed American foreign policy for more than a year. Imagine if the Taliban has effective hostage control of thousands of Americans who are stranded in Afghanistan. It would be a catastrophe.
So, Congressman Mast, how do we keep that from happening?
Again, this goes back to we have to make the Taliban our hostages as they were previous to this administration. We were drawing down. We need to go back there and take control of the places that create that situation. We had the most secure embassy in the world, the most air base in the world. Until we get out there beyond this line, we're losing the high ground. We don't have the high ground.
I want to interject as we kind of go along so we can cover a lot of ground here. So my immediate follow-up is, do we have enough people there? Because we know that there were about 6,000 American troops on the ground today. They'll be at that airport. But as you say, that's the only place they are. And if you're the enemy, that's pretty handy knowledge too. Why not push that perimeter out? But how many people do you really need to do that?
I think you unpack that in two separate ways. We know what happened immediately after 9/11, the way that U.S. forces were able to go and move across Afghanistan with a very minimal force. But this is not the same thing. We are talking about a very dense urban area that has a mob mentality going on with it, where they have taken over what were previously American high ground positions, very secure positions like our embassy, as an example, extremely fortified places. And they're learning about their capabilities more and more. So that is not the same situation. I believe if we want to flip that script, is going to take significantly more forces than what we have there right now. And you look at that, any threat assessment that you could do on this to move people off of that airstrip would result in what you would see as a situation that nobody would want to take an aircraft off of that landing strip.
Wow. And you've told us so much with that information, too, and I know you know on the ground. So are there areas where there are American citizens that are in areas where they just simply can't even move? I'm curious to know about the landscape now, because we aren't getting real crisp numbers of how many American citizens are outside that perimeter at Kabul airport. And I would imagine, I mean, I'm not a mission creator like you, but don't you kind of have to know how many people you have to go get?
That's a question that we had been asking for months. As an example, just on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the answers were the same as what the press secretaries are giving us right now. We don't know. Well, why didn't you figure that out over the last couple months? But to your question about getting those people out of there, yeah, we have to know exactly where they were. My office is receiving messages in real time. I'm in this hotel. I'm in this hotel room. They're going door to door here. We're looking at this out of this place. I separated from my family and moved them to this pomegranate orchard. I'm in this heroin field. We're going from this place. If we can get across the Hindu Kush, could we be seen at this embassy? What if we cross the China border here? Would that be a possibility? You know, the individuals that are on the ground there are trying to play out every possible scenario, because they're also sending messages saying, I got as close as 10 to 20 meters from the Marines on the ground there, and I was worried that I was going to get captured because I saw these people pulling in. These are real-time messages that we are receiving from first and second hand sources that are sending them to us saying, can you send this to the State Department? Can you get this to one of the Marines on the perimeter there? Absolutely. It's literally that specific. Can you get this to the Marine on the ground there? Can you show them this picture of me with this U.S. commander and my State Department paperwork so that they will let me in?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the potential for hostage taking. I'm thinking of who potentially could be involved right now. And that type of specificity means that somebody who's got tech capabilities, like a China or a Russia, can they intercept our messages? I don't want to make this bigger than what it is, but come on. We know that our own government wants to work with tech companies to watch us. What's possible? Just real quickly, could you factor that in?
Yeah, well, we know for a fact right now, messages that we're not receiving through encrypted coding. They're not secure messages in that way.
Right.
These people are trying to find any way possible. WhatsApp, Facebook, email, some kind of phone call that they can get out, whatever way that they can get a message out to somebody that maybe they served with as an interpreter, or somebody that they knew, a company that they worked with, anybody. And they're trying to say, hey, can we get this to Representative Mast or to Senator Cotton or to somebody in the State Department, or you name it. They're trying to find any way possible to get those messages to somebody that might be able to make a difference.
And further risking themselves for interception of any of that, from what you're saying. And that was my question. Congressman Brian Mast, we will have you back. Incredible information about what it might be like on the ground if we can't get everybody out. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.